Tez.
Welcome to the TezDown. Welcome.
I'm the Tez.
Mic check 1 2. Welcome. Welcome to the TezDown. Party time. Welcome to the TezDown. We got another episode for you today. Today's episode is titled Power. Who's really in control? We're going to discuss a wide array of topics when it comes to power and who's in control of that power and how you get that power. We got some clips that we're going to play from Classic and Sharon. We also have some history for you guys today. And I'm going to make sure that we dive into this. And to be honest, we may not get the final verdict, the final resolution. We may not even get a true answer. You see, the shroud of power is so conflated among so many things in today's society. Is the president in control? Is Congress in control? Is the media in control? Are we even in control of ourselves? So we're going to find these questions out. We're going to ask these questions, and we're going to see if it parallels anything in history. I got a clip from a movie that I'm going to play today too. It is the MCA free. Hola, Nadia. How you doing? Nice to see you. We are in here. We're going to make it happen. So you guys don't mind my voice. Last night was a little bit long. Let's just say that much. It was a very long night in all ways, shape, forms, and fashions yesterday. But the illusion of power has led to many, many revolutions. And we're going to start off with our first video today from our boy, Ice Cube. Let's go ahead and get our boy Ice Cube on the screen. But before that, you guys, we have a show coming up. And it's going to be a live show in Darien, Illinois. I want you guys to take a look at the video, and then we're going to move on.
I'ma win any type of way. That's a parlay you could take to them. Having that aura, I got that glow. They hate it worse when they know that you know. Walk in the room like I'm covered in gold. I used to suppress it, was about to implode. I used to suppress it, was about to explode. Sore thumb in the room everywhere that I go. Black sheep of the fam, used to think something was wrong. Took a little time to realize I was chose. Took a little time to realize I was special. Ever since birth, been a cold under pressure. Wanna be great, gotta do a little extra. That's why I grind with obsession. Everything about me irregular, everything about me is pressure. Maximum effort, no box left unchecked on the checklist, no stone left unturned, mash on the gas and etc. Or farming hoe, I'm up in rank. Step in the room, they paved the way. I get treated like a milli tank. Southpaw like I'm really tank. I do things that they really can't.
Same people who own the labels own the prisons. So
literally the same people?
Literally the same people who own the labels own private prisons. The records that come out are really geared to push people towards that prison industry.
But they didn't make you write those lyrics.
It's not about making somebody write the lyrics. It's about being there as guardrails to make sure certain songs make it through and certain songs don't. You know, some records are made by committee. Meaning record company guys sit around and tell the artists, this is hot, say that, do this. We're gonna have this guy write the lyrics. We're gonna have that. So the narrative is really kind of, you know, structured and really made into what the record company want the record to be.
19 states have seceded.
So you guys, you heard it there first from Ice Cube. The first thing that they want to do when it comes to this topic of today, which is, where'd it go? which is power. Who really runs this? Ice Cube just stated it. Ice Cube said that the record labels are owned by the same people who run the prisons. And if the record labels are ran by the same people who run the prisons, that means that they want those lyrics, that music to get out to you so that it can influence your way of thinking and your way of living. If you see that your culture being represented a particular way in music and media, you may try to emulate that a whole lot more, especially for people who don't have their own personalities. And believe it or not, that's a lot more people than we think it is. There are tons of people who don't have any original thoughts inside of their heads. There are tons of people who don't have any. What's up, Skull? What's up? What's up? We got Nadia in the building. We got Skull in the building. What's happening? There are plenty of people who don't ever have internal dialogue. They never do. Their dialogue is shifted by what they see, what they hear, who they're talking to, and the culture that they're immersed in. They don't have any original thoughts. Everything is either related to their culture, their country, or the music that they feel as if, or the media that's being portrayed in that music too. So that's the first couple of things that we got to look at here. I'm inclined to believe that if you only put negative things inside of your system, then you're only going to get negative things out. You're only going to have negative portrayals of everything else that's going on in your life. I'm a firm believer that if you can stand on your own 2 feet and view things objectively, then you might get a lot more accomplished than anything that you possibly could dream of or imagine. But anytime that you live your life, what's up, Classic? How you doing? We got Classic and Sco in the building. What's going on? If y'all saw the video that we just played about the event that's coming up next weekend, Classic is the title artist, and he's going to be the one that it's performing in the concert. And also that was his music playing in the background. That was called Aura Farm, and probably one of my favorites out of there. I pick a new one every week. What's up, Roxy? Roxy in the building. How you doing, Roxy? Nice to see you. Nice to see you. Today's discussion is about power. We're going to talk about different types of power. That's where we're going to go today. We're going to talk about different types of power: influential power, manipulative power, assumed power, and power that is given to you at birth. Let's go back into the next part. So today's one is going to be, we're going to play that video now. Let's go. Turn it down just a little bit so I can talk to y'all while it's going on. This is a trailer for a movie that was very close to what we're dealing with today. And it is what would happen if America was into a civil war right now. What would the power structure look like?
United States Army ramps up activity.
The White House issued warnings to the Western forces.
What's up, Moonsong? How you doing?
The three-term president assures the uprising will be dealt with swiftly.
Let me know if you want to try anything on.
Are you guys aware there's like a pretty huge civil war going on all across America?
We just try to stay out. With what we see on the news, seems like it's for the best.
Citizens of America, the so-called Western
That is
forces of Texas and California have suffered a very great defeat at
What's
the
up, bro?
hands of the United States military.
Mr. President, do you regret the use of airstrikes against American citizens?
Hey. Shout out from South Africa. What's up, South Africa? What's up? How you doing? This is Tez International. Nice to see you. Keep on tuning in. Keep on tuning in. Also, I know you're on Twitch right now, but we are on YouTube as well. The TezDown, the same place on YouTube. You can come on over. Hey, I appreciate that. You saw me yesterday? Oh yeah, that's what's up. Thanks. I appreciate that so much. Thank you so much. But yeah, we're getting back into it. This is what happens if America is in the middle of a civil war.
They're moving to D.C. today.
We need to go down there.
They shoot journalists on sight in the Capitol. Every instinct in me says this is death.
Flooded.
Every time I survived a war zone, I thought I was sending a warning home. Don't do this. But here.
So yeah, guys. I mean, that's about as much as I'm gonna do with that one. We got, I gotta make sure that I keep the brakes in. But the American Civil War would be a starting point, or even a catalyst to change of a structure of power in here, because basically whoever wins the Civil War would gain the power. But what does that mean for the people? Do the people even have power? The people are part of the military, right? What if the people decided that they didn't want to go with the government? Then what would happen? You see, one of the major parts of controlling a nation of people is finding out how many supporters that you actually have. It is extremely difficult to maintain power in any situation if you don't have support. Now, I am all for doing it by yourself. I am all for leaning on your own merit. But let's just face the facts here. Sometimes you do need an army behind you. Sometimes you do need a group of people, a militia, to stand up and say, no more. This is what we're doing. That is how you gain power. I'm not going to say the name out specifically, but there have been several in the last 100 years or so countries that have overthrown the people who had been in power for, in some cases, hundreds of years. And they were able to do it and overthrow it because the governing bodies no longer had authority over the people. The people led to insurrection. They said, we're just not going to do this. And the more people that stood up and said, we're not going to do it, they elected their own people. And they said, these people are going to govern us now. No longer you. You no longer have the right to tell us what to do. That's what they did. Be like Moon, y'all. Leave follows. So if you guys haven't subscribed to my channel, but you're watching me, please subscribe. It helps me out greatly. I don't spam you with anything. You only get true, unadulterated Tez each and every single day. And I'm here to help and provide content as well as insight into some of these things that we think about every single day. I mean, I'm driving around at work sometimes and a thought pops into my head, and I'm like, okay, well, I'm going to talk about this today. I'm going to talk about it today. And I do it for people like that. So thank you, Moon. You're great. And everyone else that has also left subscribes and likes. And matter of fact, let's do a time break. Guys, please, if you're in the vertical on this one, please double tap the screen. And if you are on the horizontal, the landscape mode that I like to be watched on anyway, please click the like button, leave me a comment, hit the subscribe button. I'm not saying hit the bell, but it would help if you did. I appreciate you. What's up, Rain? How you doing? Rain in the building, y'all. First lady of the RSC. How you doing, Rain? Nice to see you. Nice to see you. Right now, to catch you up, we're talking about power, and we're on to the United States. This is one of the bigger topics that we're going to have today. Who holds the keys? Who? I can't do it today, y'all. I can't do the who's today, but you got it. Who? Let's go.
The Constitution, the United States' most important law, gives the president several powers. He's the head of the military. He's the only one who can order the use of nuclear bombs, the most destructive weapons in the world.
So, we've already learned one thing. The only person that can order the use of nuclear bombs is the president of the United States. So that makes me ask you a question. If the president of the United States has the power to, I don't know, destroy an entire city with one push of a button, and he's the only person that can do it in the country, is he the most powerful?
He has the power to choose people for the most important government jobs and can make agreements with other countries. The president can also help companies create jobs and make more money by paying fewer taxes. But he cannot force them to do what he wants. The president, however...
Okay. Can he? I need y'all to let me know. If the president has the power to destroy cities and affect taxes, put people in important positions of power in jobs, but he can't make the people do what they want. Does he really have the power? What do y'all think? Yeah. Yeah. Go ahead, chat. Do your thing. Let me know. Does the president really have the power?
Doesn't lead the nation on his own. His power is divided between three branches of government. Legislative, which is Congress, makes laws. Judicial is the Supreme Court that evaluates laws, and executive is the president, which carries out laws. Each branch can limit the powers of the other so that no one branch becomes too powerful. This system is called checks and balances. So
that we talk about power unchecked all the time. So if the president has checks and balances that he has to go through. So let's say that, me and two homies get together and we create a corporation and we have equal standing in the corporation, supposedly equal standing in the corporation. One homie could check the other homie and I could check him too, but he could check the other one. So who's really in control? Even if you're the president, the CEO, and the COO, well, the chief operating officer is the person that's going to have all of the operations of the company going on. The CEO is the one that's going to make the financial decisions, and then the president is the one that oversees all of the other activity in the company. But each one of us serves our own purpose, and without the other one, we will fail. But at the same time, there have been governments and companies that are ran by one person, and they didn't. Some did, some didn't. We're trying to figure out what the separations of powers are here, people. Keep this in mind. We will be talking about power itself for the rest of the episode today. We're gonna hear from Classic and Sharon. We're gonna talk about the Romanovs a little bit and how they lost power, and we're gonna keep this thing moving. But right now, we're talking about the American government.
The president can't really rule the country as he wishes. For example, when he makes an agreement with another
they say the president cannot rule the country as he wishes. Keep that in mind.
Country, it has to be approved by Congress. On the other hand, the president has the power to stop Congress from making a law. That's his veto power. What presidential power do you find most important? Why? Do you think the president should have more or fewer powers?
That's a good question. That's a good question, guys. I mean, if I'm going to answer the question first, I'm going to be honest here. I don't like the current political system. But at the same time, I'm not in the current political system. I am a subject to the current political system. I don't have an example of a better political system here in the United States. So I have never lived under another political system. So for me to say that another system is better, I can only judge it based on my own feelings. Do I like being in control of my projects? Yes, I do. I love being in control of my projects. I love being the person that signs, delivers, creates, and sends out. I love being that guy. So if you were to ask me, I would say I wish if I was the president, I wish I had more power. But who doesn't wish that they had more power? I think everyone does. Roxy said, it seems like less power. It seems less like power and more like authority. What do you guys think? Do you think there's a difference between a power and authority? Is there a difference between power and authority? I think there might be. So let's hear from my brother real quick. So we're talking about the power and authority, and they say that the people who own the prisons, that's what Ice Cube said at the very beginning of the show, the people that own the prisons are the ones that push out the media, the ones that push out the music, the ones that help write the lyrics. So if they're pushing this out to the people, that's a way to control them, right? Is control power? Some people might say that it is. I might be inclined to believe that having control is having power. Whether it be manipulative, cognitive, cerebral, or in most cases, physical. Physical power. I want you to keep physical power in mind today as we talk about this, about what someone can do to you, what you can do to somebody else, and what you can do to stop people from doing things. Some people might say that might be the most important power, but it's up for discussion.
I'm not really shocked when a foreign person says some wild shit when it comes to black liberation, because they don't. How do you know black liberation and your grandmother was born in Trinidad, or your grandfather was born in Cuba, or your grandfather was born in Nigeria or something? Like, how are you gonna speak to me about what the black liberation means in the United States? So she didn't disappoint me because I never expected nothing from her, right? So maybe that's my question to the black community. How are we as a system so to the point that we disappointed that Nicki Minaj is supporting somebody we don't like, right? You know what I mean? Like, so how are we gonna ever get out that understanding? How can we get to that understanding where it's like, yeah, she makes great music. Yeah, that monster verse was crazy. Yeah, she can rap her ass off. You know what I'm saying? But at the end of the day, I'm not so emotionally caught up on who this woman's voting for and not voting for.
Yo, shout out to Chicago creators. That is, if you guys can see that down there, that is Concrete Genius Pod. Shout out to Chicago creators. Shout out. Every Chicago creator, shout out. Whether you create something I watch or not, every Chicago creator, every Chicago informer, every Chicago activist, shout out to my Chicago. That's what's up.
Like, I just don't give a fuck, bro. And like, if y'all weren't mad about that lady calling Cardi B kids roaches, or whatever she said about her kids, just like y'all weren't mad about Cardi B calling black women roaches and saying she drug niggas, but because she pro Kamala Harris, y'all embrace her as a black woman. At the end of the day, we black Americans sitting up here putting all our stock and all our emotional ties into two women that's propped up in the hip hop culture that don't have black American grandparents. I don't give a fuck about who Cardi B or who Nicki Minaj votes for. Their stake in the United States is not as high as mine.
Facts.
And that's what black Americans gonna have to understand before we be so emotional about these fucking rappers and entertainers.
Facts.
Bro. Like, we put too much moral stock and high ground into somebody because they can rap or jump or tackle somebody or hit a baseball. Like, no, what is your standing on what it means for you to be a black American? Don't just pimp hip hop like other races pimp hip hop, right? Because at the end of the day, that's all these foreigners. You can't tell me you love hip hop, you pimping it, you use it, right? So Nicki Minaj used hip hop to put herself in an elevated status. She played the roundaway girl role, put herself in an elevated status, right? She's displayed her passion, her talent throughout her career, but she's also displayed some mental inconsistencies, right? She said some vulgar things. Shit, if I ain't mistaken, I think a couple of her family members got some crazy cases. So all I'm saying is, if that, whatever it may be, if that didn't disparage you from listening to her music, don't start now, right? We too control emotionally, right? Like, I didn't respect Cardi B more because she endorsed Kamala Harris, right? That's what I'm saying. We looking for people who ain't been black 40 years to lead a black movement, right?
Facts.
Why do I want the opinion on black American politics or what it takes for me to survive in this country, right? From somebody who grandfather grew up, making $250 a month. Like, I don't give a fuck about your opinion. So I don't care if it's Nicki Minaj or Cardi B. We shouldn't even be caring about who they endorse for president because they ain't us.
That's the thing.
Ooh. Let's talk about it, chat. Let's talk about it. Are we putting too much stock in what celebrities think? Are we giving celebrities power over our thoughts and our decisions? I'm going to rock with them because, such and such is rocking with them. I'm going to rock with them because such and such is rocking with them. How about we start doing some more critical thinking? How about we use the same logic that applies to us? You see, that's one of the funniest things about power. If I can make you forget who you are, I have total control over the next things you do. If I can tell you who you are each and every single day, I can control what you do as far as you trying to line up to the character that I created for you. That's power. Power is being able to tell you who you are and have you do what I want you to do based upon the person that I created for you. I'm tired of hearing people say that I'm self-made. How are you self-made if you look just like him, dress just like him, walk and talk and style yourself just like him? You're not self-made. He made you in his image. In essence, he is your deity. He is your God. He is your power, your ruler. You do everything he tells you to do. There's nothing critical or independent thinking about it. That, ladies and gentlemen, is a form of cognitive power. That's manipulative power. That's the power to do something and make somebody do something with just your voice or just your presence. Y'all got kids? Anybody in here got kids? Y'all been around kids? Y'all know when an adult walks into the room that like the kids, they stop doing whatever they was doing, they sit there? Or in my case, I talk about my grandfather a lot and my dad a lot. When dad came home, everybody stopped what they was doing. They ran to the front door and they hugged dad. Same thing with grandpa. And then what did grandpa do? What did dad do? They put their bag or their suitcase down. They took their boots or their shoes off at the door. They walked in the house, took their jacket off and sat right in their chair. And then everybody gathered around and everybody sat on the couch or sat at the table and waited for the next thing to come out of dad or grandpa's mouth. Now, I know everybody's family might not be like this, but that's how my family was. To be honest, that's how my family still is. You know, grandpa, you know, rest in power. I said that for a reason. Grandpa, rest in power. Dad's still doing dad's thing. You know, dad still got all the admiration that he gained over his lifetime. And everybody still flocks to him. Everybody want to see what dad about to say. Everybody want to be concerned about what dad has to say about how the day was. Some people might say that dad has power over the family. Some people might call him a patriarch. I don't have a problem with that. Because if dad's a patriarch, then I'm next in line for the throne. And if I'm next in line for the throne, then I have to do everything in my power to influence, to keep dad in power until dad can't hold power anymore. That's how generations are influenced. That's how years down the line, you'll have people, should calamity not find us, we'll have people for the next few generations. The Branch family just carries themselves. They're regal people. That's what I like about my family. That's what I like about the way that lineages are created and developed. Some people would say having a strong lineage is power. People could look to them and see the longevity of their line and want to be a part of it. They could say, I want that in my life. If I'm gonna have children, it's gonna be with somebody like them. That's also power. This is how, as we segue a little bit, this is how dynasties are created. This is how. Let's go ahead and show you guys. This is a soliloquy a little bit about the Romanov family in Russia. The Romanov family, if you guys didn't know, is where you guys get the story of Anastasia. How many people are big fans of Disney? This is how you get the story of Anastasia. Anastasia, as you guys were maybe aware of, was the long-lost daughter of Tsar Nicholas II, I believe. And he was the last Russian king / czar before the Bolsheviks took over, the Bolshevik Revolution that happened. And this is how we got there. And I want you guys to pay close attention. This is an historical example, not even 150 years old, not even close to it, of power and how it's lost through the loss of influence and bad decisions when you're in control. Control is one of those things that's funny. You can make a really bad decision and lose all power.
Goes. With great power comes great responsibility. Unfortunately, great power doesn't always land in great hands, sometimes landing in the hands least fit to wield it. Let's take a look at how the dynasty that ruled Russia for over 300 years would succumb to its end. When the bloodline of one dynasty meets its demise, another would rise. The death of Fyodor I, the last ruler of the Rurik dynasty in 1598, brought on a chaotic 15-year period of political crisis. A time of madness and disorder, filled with foreign intervention, peasant uprisings, and power struggles among random people who would—
Y'all hear that? Foreign intervention, peasant uprisings. If you guys don't know what a peasant is, I'll cover it. The peasant is usually the person with the least amount of power in a political structure. The peasants are the people on the street that are begging for cash. The peasants are the people who are working the least desirable jobs. The peasants are the people who have the least desirability in the day-to-day market that we see in public. So when they say, "Oh, he work at McDonald's. I can't date a guy that works at McDonald's," or "Hey, she ain't got no job." Yeah, well, I hate to say it, but historically, those are the peasants. Now, what happens in revolution is a lot of times the peasants become kings. The peasants become the leaders because they had their feet on the ground. They were talking to the people in the street. The people liked them.
Attempted to seize the throne, caused a major social and economic disruption, leaving the state itself at great risk of being destroyed. This period was known as the Time of Troubles and would eventually come to an end when an assembly of the land, also known as the Zemsky Sobor, elected Mikhail Romanov as the new Tsar in 1613.
So, we already see that a peasant became king. And you know what happens? Does power corrupt you? Is power corrosive? And if a peasant becomes king, does he then take it to the best interest of his constituency and his people? Or does he decide that he is going to work for the people who elected him king? And that's the other thing. If you were elected king, do they have the ability to remove that power from you if you are no longer fit for it?
Between 1645 and 1682, the Romanov dynasty generally followed the custom of passing the throne to the oldest son or closest male relative if no sons were born. Going from Mikhail to his son Alexis, then the son Fyodor III within that time. After Fyodor III's death, the way in which the throne was passed from heir to heir would be less conventional. His brother Ivan and his half-brother Peter found themselves head-to-head at becoming the new Tsar, eliciting the involvement of the Zemsky Sobor, who came to a decision that Peter would rule. This didn't go over well with Ivan's family, who revolted against the decision, backed by the support of the Streltsy, a military unit, which ultimately led to a new decision that both Ivan and Peter would assume
they used the military to change succession.
The throne together. The two brothers reigned for more than a decade, but by 1696, Peter became the sole ruler and created a new law of succession which allowed the Tsar to choose his own successor. Unfortunately for Peter, he was unable to take advantage of this decree, and the throne was left to his wife Catherine I, and later reverted to Peter's grandson, Peter II, after Catherine's death. By 1730, Ivan's second surviving daughter, Anna, would become empress after Peter II's death. As the throne trickled down the family line, it continued bouncing from person to person, seemingly at random, even after an established definite order of succession for members of the Romanov family was put into place by Paul I on April 5, 1797, who'd begun ruling a year earlier. Once again, the succession of the throne was thrown out of order after the death of Paul I, who was murdered by conspirators, supporting his son, Alexander I. And when Alexander I met his demise, his brother Constantine, who was the rightful heir, declined the throne, favoring Nicholas I, who ruled from 1825 to 1855. Both Alexander II and Alexander III ruled thereafter, just before the throne was finally passed down to Alexander III's son, Nicholas II, in 1894. The final ruler of the Romanov dynasty would have his time cut short.
Tsar Nicholas II.
Leading up to his abdication, Nicholas II's poor track record as a leader resulted in his unpopularity with the people of Russia.
His poor track record as a leader resulted in unpopularity with the people of Russia.
His bad decision-making and poor leadership led to a war fought and lost with Japan in 1904 in an attempt to expand the country. In 1905, after the loss of Japan, the people held a protest in St. Petersburg, demanding reform. More than 100 people died, and hundreds more were wounded when police fired shots into the peaceful protesters. The event became known as Bloody Sunday and instigated the revolution of 1905.
That's some terrible parallels to what's going on right now. The police are firing shots into crowds of protesters. Where have we seen that at? Yeah, Minneapolis.
Which forced the Tsar to create the Duma, a representative assembly that he had the authority to close when he was unhappy with it, creating greater distrust by the Russian people.
So here's the thing: if you create a Congress, for example, and then you just say that's what it was. The Duma was a Congress. If you create a Congress and then you decide that because you don't like them anymore, you're going to close it. The people are probably going to get pissed. You have no more ability to control them. So your power is now in name only.
Finally, during World War I, as the man in charge of the military, Nicholas led his people into conflict that put an enormous strain on the nation's resources and the loss of millions of lives. Soldiers lacked the necessary munitions to fight and began deserting the military. Those back home faced severe food shortages, and women also took up work outside the home as men were off at war, but their wages were minuscule compared to the men's wages. All of this earned him the nickname Nicholas the Bloody. His position with the people of Russia was displeasing, to say the least. He was also known to be chronically indecisive, with a joke circulating the country that the most powerful people in Russia were the Tsar and whoever had spoken to him last. Despite public opinion, Nicholas was a family man and well loved by his wife and children. By all reports, the Romanovs were happy and devoted to one another. Nicholas II was married to Alexandra, Tsarina of Russia, who had a more powerful and imposing personality than her husband. Being German by birth and the granddaughter of Britain's Queen Victoria, Alexandra had some struggles of her own when it came to her status with the people of Russia. She was generally viewed as an outsider, causing the Tsarina to become highly sensitive, controlling, and paranoid. She reportedly had a high-strung temperament and needed constant attention and solicitude. The couple had 5 children, 4 daughters, Olga, Tatiana, Maria, and Anastasia, who were known as the Grand Duchesses of Russia, and 1 son, Alexei, who was the youngest of the family and also who would have inherited the throne. Alexei was born in 1904 with hemophilia, a bleeding disorder which causes blood to not clot properly. During a time where most upper-class parents were generally not very close to their children, Alexei's condition was the foundation of the Romanovs' close familial bond. His ailment also created a bond between his mother Alexandra and the mystic and self-proclaimed holy man from Serbia, whom she was highly influenced by, Grigory Rasputin. Rasputin managed to gain the trust and loyalty of the Romanovs through his ability to comfort Alexandra with—
Now, while we're talking about power, I want you guys to pay very close attention to this man right here. This man, Rasputin, who had influence in the streets with the people and in the government, was able to gain control without ever having to sit on the throne. We're going to find out how.
Their anxieties reassure Nicholas as a leader, and most of all, his healing powers when it came to Alexei's hemophilia. He reportedly significantly lessened Alexei's pain as he underwent a severe bleeding episode in 1908. To the Romanovs, Alexei's delicate condition and Rasputin's ability to aid him made Rasputin Company worth keeping. Eventually, Rasputin secured his place of influence in the palace after he allegedly warned Alexandra and Nicholas that Alexei's health would be linked to the strength of the Romanov dynasty. This closeness with Rasputin further isolated Alexandra from the Russian people. March 1917, an announcement made to the people of Russia of an upcoming rationing would stir up the beginning of the end of the Romanovs. On March 8th, International Women's Day, just days after the rationing news, women went on strike, demanding food and the end of the Tsar's rule. By the end of the day, 100,000 protesters who filled the streets of St. Petersburg, which had become Petrograd after the outbreak of World War I, became no match for the Duma, who desperately attempted to regain order. The protest took place while Nicholas was in Mogilev with the military. When Nicholas was away, Alexandra took over in his absence and was often influenced by her confidant Rasputin, a closeness frowned upon by the public as Rasputin's power over the family.
Man, that's a powerful image right there. That is a powerful image. While he was away with the military, his wife took over control. And she allowed Rasputin to basically lead the country in Tsar Nicholas II's absence. And because Nicholas II already was disliked by the people, and so was she, people were going to listen to Rasputin a little bit more, a little bit closer. They were going to see that he was a strong, confident, powerful man. And he had the ear of the monarchy. Sounds like a recipe for disaster, doesn't it, guys?
Family led to suspicions that he had his own political agenda.
He got them as his kids, y'all.
The Duma begged Nicholas to choose someone to form a government that the public would trust. But instead, he sent in the troops. His underestimation of the situation resulted in a giant blunder. As the protesters were mainly made up of women and the troops greatly sympathized with their cause, they abandoned their post and joined in with the protests.
Could you imagine that? Could you imagine sending an army of people anywhere? And, okay, yeah, we're gonna get rid of this right now. Let's send the army. Yeah, all we got to do is send the army. He sends the army, and the army joined the protest. I'm gonna tell you what it really was. The army saw all of them women out there and said, "They're my wives and girlfriends. We're gonna side with them." Here's an example of women helping to topple a government, if y'all just needed to know.
Nicholas was forced to return home, and as he began his journey back, Alexandra and their 5 children were advised by the chairman of the Duma to flee Alexander Palace just outside of Petrograd, as their safety was threatened by the turmoil within the city. The power and water to the palace were cut off, and more troops continued deserting their posts to join the uprising, leaving Alexandra and her children unprotected from the enraged crowds rioting in the nearby Petrograd. With her husband not yet home, and their children sick with measles, Alexandra refused to go. March 15th, 1917, marks the day the Romanov dynasty officially came to an end after over 300 years of ruling. Nicholas II was met in Pskov by 2 representatives of the Duma, who presented him with an announcement that the Duma was assuming power to restore order within the nation, leaving Nicholas no choice but to abdicate. He named his brother Mikhail as his successor, instead of his intended successor, his son Alexei. Mikhail refused the throne the following day after Soviets demanded the end of the Romanov rule. A plan was devised to seek asylum in Britain under King George V, who was Nicholas's first cousin. King George agreed as long as the bill was footed by the Russian government. Despite the provisional government's attempt to get the family to Britain, the Soviets were not for it, demanding that Nicholas be arrested and punished. King George would also rescind the offer after advisors warned of potential disapproval from the British public, which could then impact his own position as monarch. Apart from Britain, there's evidence that there were attempts to use various other connections throughout parts of Europe for asylum, but they did not pan out. On March 21st, the day before her husband would finally return to his family, Alexandra was informed that she and Nicholas were under arrest within the palace. The children and others within the household stayed with them during the arrest. The concern for their safety grew over time, and the head of the provisional government moved the family in August to Tobolsk, Serbia, where they stayed in the former governor's house. They were allowed to bring with them many of their comforts and nearly 40 companions and servants. After another revolution known as the October Revolution, a man named Vladimir Lenin, the newly selected Soviet government's leader, planned to...
This guy is still worshipped in Russia today. They have his body on display, and it has been ever since his death.
...put Nicholas on trial. In April 1918, an official made his way to Tobolsk to bring Nicholas to Moscow for the trial. Bolsheviks in Yekaterinburg demanded the Tsar be brought to them after hearing of the plans to take him to Moscow. The official was instructed by the Kremlin to do as the Bolsheviks demanded, and he took the family to Yekaterinburg in the Ural Mountains and handed them over to the Bolsheviks. Upon their arrival, Nicholas, Alexandra, and one of their daughters were placed in the Impatiev house, which was referred to as the House of Special Purpose.
That don't sound good.
A wooden wall was erected around the outside of the home, preventing anyone from seeing the outside world from within the house. The other children were left back in Tobolsk, unsure of how they would endure the trip. They would follow later in May. On July 17th, 1918, after learning that the White Army, a military force loyal to the Tsar, was moving in an attempt to rescue the royal family, the Bolsheviks quickly took action. The recently dethroned Tsar Nicholas II, ex-Tsarina Alexandra, their 5 children, 4 servants, and Eugene Botkin, the family doctor, were awoken from their sleep by their Bolshevik captors. They were told they had to leave in a hurry and were gathered in the cellar of the fortified mansion where they were being imprisoned. While they were waiting, they were provided with 2 chairs, one for Alexandra, who was sick, and one for the dethroned heir, Alexei. Before long, a group of heavily armed men, assembled by Yakov Yurovsky, a commandant of the House of Special Purpose, came into the room along with Yurovsky himself. Yurovsky started by reading out a death sentence announcement to the family before ordering his men to carry out the execution. Each man was intended to fire at a specific family member, but many of them did not actually want to shoot at the girls, so instead they mostly aimed at the ex-Tsar and Tsarina, killing both Nicholas and Alexandra. The firing squad was wild in their aim, as the room filled with smoke and screams. Many of the killers actually ended up wounded by one another in their attempt to hit their targets. The plan was ill-devised, and when implemented, went wrong in just about every way logistically, making the act even more brutal and atrocious. In part, it is said that the team that was assembled were a group of drunken thugs, which could have added to their incompetence.
Yep.
After the first round of fire, most of the family was still alive, but wounded, petrified, and weeping. The Romanovs had unknowingly fashioned what were nearly bulletproof vests for themselves. When they learned their escape from Russia might be inevitable, they hid many of their most valuable jewels by sewing them into their undergarments. The hard stones caused some of the bullets to ricochet off. To finish the job, the men began stabbing the family with bayonets or trying to shoot them in the head. The attack lasted at least 20 minutes. When they were carrying the bodies out to the woods, they realized 2 of the girls were still alive, still coughing and choking. They had to be stabbed again. Yurovsky's intent was to murder the family all at once, burn the bodies, and bury them in the woods nearby without anyone knowing what had transpired. Once the family was finally murdered, the drunken Bolsheviks mocked the royals, stole their treasures, and argued about where they would move the bodies and who would do it. Ultimately, the team failed at this as well. They piled the bodies into a truck that quickly broke down, so they dragged the bodies...
So, I mean, that is the downfall of the Romanov family. And you guys can guess the rest of what happened there. It's pretty gruesome. In what we just witnessed was peasants taking power of the government, becoming royal, forgetting that they were peasants, losing touch with the community, ultimately taxing the community, then losing power, not even just with their own military, but with the people that they were supposed to be serving. So who really had the power? Was it the people with the weapons? Or was it them? Was it the peasants who seemingly had no power? Or was it them who were formerly peasants? That's a question that I'm going to leave for you. In the next segment, we're going to listen to 2 videos about power, and we're going to see excerpt from a clip that was reviewed of ours yesterday, and we're going to talk about it. Yes, Classic is on it. Okay.
Because the enemy that you think, everybody wonders how to fight back. Everybody wonders how to win the war on life against the enemy. But first you have to recognize that your biggest enemy is you. Because that enemy that you think is the enemy has no power over you. You have a power that's given to you that's called free will. And if you will learn to discipline yourself and focus your will on the will of the Father, on the greater good, on being a better person daily, dying to yourself, dying to the old you, welcoming in a better you. If you begin there, you will begin to win. Everybody wonders how to fight back. Everybody wonders how to win the war on life against the enemy. But first you have to recognize that your biggest enemy is you. Because that enemy that you think is the enemy has no power over you. You have a power that's given to you that's called free will. And if you will learn to discipline yourself and focus your will on the will of the Father, on the greater good, on being a better person daily, dying to yourself, dying to the old you, welcoming in a better you. If you begin there, you will begin to win.
Ooh, he said a lot. He said a lot in that video. He said your greatest enemy is yourself. Who really has power over you? You do. You have power over you. You have the power to make decisions. You have the power to make change. You have the power to shift an entire country. Not just the town, not just your house. You have the power to change everything. All you got to do is take it. Take it. Possess your own power. Use your own power. Don't let someone tell you that you can't have any of it. I'm a firm believer that if you take your power and you use your power, you will improve your life. I'm a firm believer that if you can influence yourself to do better, then you have cracked the code on how to improve things in your life and the people around you and their lives too. But if you let other people tell you that you don't have any power, that you can't make a difference, that you can't make a change, then you're truly a minion. You're truly a peasant. You truly don't have any power, and you're letting them make decisions over you. You don't even have a real life at that point. It's all about them. Well, I refuse. I refuse to let those people have power over me. I refuse to let people tell me that I can't do things in my life. I refuse to not succeed. I refuse all of those things because I have the power to make change. I have the power to make things happen. It's not just voting power. It's not just physical power. It's a mixture of everything. Everything around me, all of the energy that surrounds me in the universe, I have the ability to harness some of that to make a difference. What difference am I going to make, though? That's the question. How am I going to use my power? How are you going to use yours? Who really is in power?
100%. And there are a handful, and all you got to do is knew who was really in power. Would you say it? Yeah, sure. Do you know? I think I know. By all means, tell us. People should just look into it. Most people just believe all that's just conspiracy, right? Here's what I will tell people. The way they hide it all, is they make it too unbelievable. It's easier to tell a big lie than a small one. 100%. You know, and there are a handful, and all you got to do is do a little research. If you knew who was really in power, would you say it? Yeah, sure. Or do you know? I think I know. By all means, tell us. People should just look into it. Most people just believe all that's just conspiracy, right? Here's what I will tell people. The way they hide it all, they make it too unbelievable. It's easier to tell a big lie than a small one. 100%. You know, and there are a handful, and all you got to do is do a little research. If you knew who was really in power, would you say it? Yeah, sure. Or do you know? I think I know. By all means, tell us. People should just look into it.
Everybody thinks they know, but the point that I wanted to make with what he was saying is you should just look into it. So we got this next section. You know, this is probably the last time y'all gonna hear me even mention anything about this, but this was a part of a conversation that was had into review of a video. So if you guys see this video is still on my channel. It's also on Classics channel. I believe it's on RSC too. If you guys see this video anywhere or what they're talking about, you'll understand why this topic was brought up. You know, there's a lot of things, especially with me. I like to paint stories with my words. I'm not a rapper. I don't consider myself a poet. I'm closer to a visual author. I like to paint pictures with my words. I love to see the landscape of the society around me as I'm speaking. I like the eloquence of all the things around me, how vivid they become when you use the right words. It's like saying, for example, if you took a girl out on a date, and we're talking to the guys, the women, you guys can reverse it. You know, it's specific, but if you went out on a date, or you went to a date with somebody, and then you asked them, you had the best time of your life, and then you asked them, so was it as good for you as it was for me? And then she looks at you and she says, it was all right. You're gonna be like, dang, I had the time of my life, but they said it was just all right. How can I ever top that? How can I ever make this person happy? They just took away all the power out of your words, out of your good mood. They took all the energy, all the electricity that's flowing through your veins out of it. Words have meaning, all of them. When you ask to slow it up, to shorten it, to end it, you don't know would anyone ever ask Vincent van Gogh not to paint Starry Night because to them it looks blurry? Would anyone ever ask that? I would hope. I would hope not. Well, it looks blurry to me. Well, I mean, you're not the one painting it. You're not the one painting it. You know, y'all don't know. Y'all know what I'm talking about. Y'all know which image I'll show you. Let me go ahead and get my Starry Night out the way. This is one of the most famous paintings in history. It's called Starry Night by Vincent van Gogh, one of my favorite paintings. I don't get it. Sometimes you don't have to get it. You just got to look at it and appreciate it for what it is. It's just the truth. No one would ask Vincent van Gogh not to paint this. No one in modern society. Well, it doesn't really follow the rules of painting that we've established. This isn't Michelangelo. No, it's Vincent van Gogh. He was unique. Yeah, he had his emotional issues. He has problems, but he expressed it through this talent. He expressed his words through painting. He expressed his viewpoint on the universe. This is how the world looks to him. He's letting you know this might not be how it looks to you, but this is how it looks to me. I'm communicating how things look to me this way. He died penniless and unhappy, as you can imagine. As do many people who can't reconcile who they are with how society sees them. But for examples like him, we learn to find true power in ourselves and to push ourselves using our own steam. I'm big on that. But the streets is talking. Let's hit the streets. So that we can wear our hair the way we need to wear our hair. We can dress the way we need to dress. We can articulate the way we need to articulate. And there's nothing less about any of us. My problem comes from when you make statements like you're looking at this from a broke point of view with broke glasses on. There is no broke point of view in this country.
It absolutely is.
There's not.
It is.
And it's disingenuous for you to say so.
No, it's not.
Let me ask you a question.
Hey, let him go ahead and answer that shit first. What you mean? What do you mean by a broke point of view? And hey, that F Malcolm X ish was crazy. Not only it was crazy, it was uncalled for. Not only that was uncalled for, it was unexplainable because he tried to act as if it was some context behind why he said F Malcolm X. And then Philosophical played the clip. There was no context to it. Somebody said, hey, just like Malcolm X said, who taught you to hate yourself is what the brother said in his car. And the first thing Anton said was, Black people killed Malcolm X, F Malcolm X. Wow. That's what Anton said that. Yes, Kim West. Anton said F Malcolm X. And that was the context of why he said it. Somebody was on the panel with him, said, hey, brother, Malcolm X asked this question one time. Who taught you to hate yourself? And Anton's first words was, hey, Black people killed Malcolm X. And F Malcolm X. And he said that ish with his squeaky ass loud chest voice. That is wild. What's up, Fig? Well, let's see where it goes. Man.
If the grid goes off tomorrow, does money matter?
Nope.
Okay, so therefore, money isn't real. But you and I will be here, Classic will be here, the bankers will be here, the executives will be here. They have gathered provisions in order to take care of a situation like that, aka a doomsday prepper, right?
Yeah.
Okay, but the money itself, they print that every day.
And that's a fact. But
they print it every day. They come up with new forms of money. You got Bitcoin. You got all of the different meme coins they came out with. All of that is true. They print it every single day. There's new forms of it every single day. I take it, being someone of your stature, that you have traveled abroad.
Absolutely.
They have money too, do they not?
Yes, I do.
It doesn't look like ours though.
No.
They might not call it the same name as us. So money is extremely man-made.
Okay.
But every single day, you need to eat, you need to sleep, you need to go to the bathroom, you need to wash your behind just like everybody else, groom yourself, and pay your bills, right?
Hey, but Tez, you don't understand. They other daddy, they granddaddy, Kevin Samuels, had to teach them how to wash their ass. He told them, hey, you gotta put a little finger. This is what the man said. Kevin Samuels said this. He said, you gotta make sure you get the dingleberries out. Don't be lost, SD. Don't try to act like you lost now.
I follow you. I follow you.
Aaron to Lucas, I don't know. Aaron, it's not looking too good. Or we just talking about what the man said.
Correct. Okay. So again, I would like to take the money situation out of the equation. There is no broke lens or a rich lens. There's just reality.
Me too.
And the reality of the situation is, if you are flaunting around money as a way to show your virtue, then you are disingenuous in your goal.
Okay.
So
response.
So there's absolutely a broke lens and a rich lens to see through. In order to change your view, you need to change your view first. Me, I have the privilege of seeing life from both. Not saying that I'm rich now, but I promise you, you don't stay in the same city as you stayed in if you are a millionaire. And I'm not saying that you're going to switch locations. The money itself will change your view. You get open to new opportunities. Listen, I was staying in Hawaii, and I was in the military. And then I got out, and then I started getting a lot of money. When you get a lot of money, the city...
We can move past y'all and seen it 50 times.
Absolutely open up the opportunities.
It's two different worlds from people who got money and people who don't got money.
It is not.
Okay.
All right, what's the difference?
Let's go back again and see what he said.
No, it's all about who you are as an individual. Because people that are absolutely broke or started from broke, the world is open to them as well if they work hard enough.
It's two different. I understand what he's saying. It's two different worlds.
And I truly believe that. I truly believe that if you go into something and you put your effort into it and you put your power into it, you will get a good result, especially if you came into it with a clear heart, a clear mind, and a clear conscience. We all make mistakes. It's how you recover from those mistakes. It's how you use your power to recover from the mistakes you made. There is not a perfect human being walking this planet. And some people believe that there never was. The examples that we have in front of us are non-perfect people every single day. Doesn't matter if it's your pastor or your president. It doesn't matter if it's your congressman or your alderman. It doesn't matter if it's your teacher or your preacher. It doesn't matter. People aren't perfect. People just push ideals to try to help you get a little bit better. Now, it depends on the angle. It's the angle. What are you pushing this ideal for? Who are you pushing this ideal for? And what is the end goal? Because I'm a firm believer that people are destroyed for their lack of knowledge. And I'm also a believer that knowledge is power. But how much of it? How much knowledge is power? If knowledge is power, then what is strength? Is strength a part of knowledge? Is strength a part of power? Is strength physical only? Or is there a cerebral effect that we need to consider? Is there a mental effect that we need to consider? If you have one without the other, what do you have? Because if I can mentally control someone, I can make other people do what I want them to do. But if I can physically control someone and I'm imposing, then they're going to do what I want them to do from the fear of what I'll do to them. That's also cerebral, isn't it? So what type of power is it where I can sit down, sit back, and say, go, and you go? What type of power is that? That's what I want to find out. Ladies and gentlemen, we have a special guest that's going to enter the building to talk about this, because he entered the building to talk about this. What's up, Classic?
Yo,
how you doing today?
I'm cool. You already know what it is, editing.
Oh yeah, getting it in. That's getting it in now. That's what getting it in now is. Hey, what you doing? Getting it in? Oh yeah, I know you edited.
Yeah, right. Yeah. Just
I got a question for you.
Talk to me.
So the whole episode so far, I don't know how much of it you were able to catch. I know you did your thing. You worked late, got up early, as usual.
Mm-hmm.
Groundhog Day. The conversation today has been about power.
Yeah. I've been tapped in for most of it.
So you saw that peasants became kings. And then peasants overthrew kings who were peasants.
Yeah.
Women's Revolution. International Women's, well, at that time it wasn't international, it was just Women's Day. They overthrew a government. They got the soldiers with the P power to follow them. That's all it took. They transferred the power. They transferred the notoriety. They transferred what was important. They said, well, the government's not taking care of us, but these soldiers will take care of us if we show them some little affection. And what do they want? Something they can have, something they can hold. We couldn't hold the monarchy. We can hold this young lady. We couldn't hold any type of power, but we got her. And when we got her, they lose the power over us. Funny how that works, isn't it? I believe we've said it on multiple occasions that many wars have been fought and lost over women.
Yeah. Yeah. True.
sometimes, and I'll speak to y'all about it. Sometimes I think that people forget how much power they really have because they're conditioned to focus on other things that make them forget that they have power.
We differ on that.
Talk to me.
I think most people are weak. Flat out. And it's for a lot of reasons, obviously, right? I won't necessarily blame the individuals. We're born, aside from genetics and how deep that conversation runs, we're born a semi-blank slate. The so-called powers that be have structured indoctrination, not only informational indoctrination, but spiritual indoctrination as well. So you come into Earth as a fairly blank slate, and then you're indoctrinated by the colonizers, who again are the so-called powers. And because of that indoctrination, you mentally, pretty much you put yourself in captivity. Well, not you're trained or conditioned into mental captivity, or submission. You're subdued, essentially, is what I'm saying. And because of that, I would say your average civilian is weak. The food, this is all alleged for content creation purposes and entertainment, everything I'm saying. The food helps to calcify your pineal gland. It lowers your vibrational frequency. For those who don't know, when y'all see me on live, most days of the week, I'm going to wear linen or 100% cotton because it doesn't impact your frequency.
100% cotton all day.
This is factual. Polyester, all these other things, they mess with your frequency. So there's a lot of reasons why people have a very difficult time accomplishing enlightenment. And if you can't accomplish enlightenment, you'll never be powerful. So I'd say that your average person is weak. The small percentage of people who are enlightened and have actually embraced the harsh grossness of reality, along with all of its many wonders and beauties, those people have the ability to then become or tap into power. But it's a very small percentage of people. Like I always tell you, bro, if the grid go down, people like you and I, the world is our oyster. You know what I'm saying? We can have a field day. True power, you'll see when you go back to the conversation, and I'll step off because I'm going to talk a lot on the video that you playing. But I believe true power is rooted in savagery. The more ruthless you are willing to be, the less likely you are to be overthrown.
So you're a musician, you make music. You're I would say one of the best rappers alive right now, in my opinion.
Thank you. I agree.
That's honest to God.
Thank you.
Do you think that your music has the power to influence?
I didn't know it did, but I know for a fact it does now. I've been told by multiple people that I've saved their life, so I know it does now. But
so, did you see the interview with Ice Cube?
Which one?
The
recent one.
No, I'm gonna play it again right now.
Yeah, I saw at the beginning of the episode. I saw it.
Yeah. Oh, okay. For those of them that just coming in, because we got some new faces in here, we'll play Ice Cube one more time. It's only a minute long.
For sure.
Same people who own the labels own the prisons. So,
literally the same people?
Literally the same people who own the labels own private prisons. The records that come out are really geared to push people towards that prison industry.
But they didn't make you write those lyrics.
It's not about making somebody write the lyrics. It's about being there as guardrails to make sure certain songs make it through and certain songs don't. Some records are made by committee. Meaning record company guys sit around and tell the artists, this is hot, say that, do this. We're going to have this guy write the lyrics. We're going to have that. So the narrative is really kind of, you know, structured and really made into what the record company want the record to be.
So my question bounces back to you, Classic. Who has the power in the situation? Is it the voice, or is it the person telling the voice what to say?
The voice. My opinion on power is the power is always in the doer. It's never in the person who got to pick up the phone. If you got to call a third party, you're weak. Some people think true power is in manipulation. The true power cannot be in manipulation because everything that you feel, there's a conversation about the perception of power versus actual power. Would you rather be a man who was born small, puny, weak, and smart? Or would you rather be John Wick with access to a library?
I think everybody would rather be John Wick with access to a library.
Right. So if you a small, weak, puny man who cannot defend himself physically, but you have the mind for master manipulation, you're only as powerful as your soldiers are compliant. If they wake up tomorrow and decide to change their mind on your ass, you cooked. So you never were powerful. You just felt powerful. You had the perception of power.
So we witnessed this.
Yeah.
In the last segment with Tsar Nicholas in Russia. Mm-hmm. They woke up one morning and said, y'all not kings no more.
See what I'm saying?
His own soldiers.
So how were you ever powerful? You were never powerful. You just felt that way for a while. That shit had an expiration date on it. 2%.
And they let them until they didn't let them anymore.
There it is.
People who didn't have 2 pennies to rub together toppled the empire.
Mm-hmm.
It's diabolical. It's diabolical.
If you can't protect it, it's not yours.
I like that. So let's go into the conversation. So this is in reaction to the video that we did. And I'm actually glad that the way that he reacted to this was a true reaction. You know, this wasn't a breakdown. This was a true reaction. You know, a lot of times when you react to content, we try to break it down instead of reacting to it the way that it was presented. And I think that that's an error that a lot of us make. You know, sometimes I do it myself. Whereas instead of reacting to content, I'm breaking the content down. So I'm missing the purpose. And if I'm missing the purpose, I'm missing the language that was being used, I'm missing the entire picture. Just like I said before, you wouldn't tell Vincent van Gogh to paint any other way. If he would have painted like Michelangelo, like they did in the Sistine Chapel, we might not have any of Van Gogh's works, because who wants to watch a copy? Authenticity is, it might not look good at first to somebody, but when it catch hold, it's like wildfire, not wildflowers, but hey, those are nice too. Natural, ain't nothing wrong with natural, y'all. Remember that, ain't nothing wrong with natural. If I asked you to change the way you rapped based upon the populace, you probably would say no. Unless you were motivated by something else. Motivations do change people. That part I don't think I ever got to get into. I don't think you got to get into it too much either. I don't think anybody has really gotten to get into it yet. But the motivations do change people. There are actions and there are motivations. Some people drive because they like driving. Some people drive because they like to go to work. If I like driving and I drive an hour a day and I'm not going nowhere, I'm driving around the neighborhoods for an hour, I drove an hour. But if you have to drive to work, you might not like driving as much. If I drive to clear my mind and you drive to work, we're driving for 2 different purposes. Yes, we're doing the same thing, what most people would think, but we're doing it for 2 different purposes. And I think the purpose, that's where the power is. If you say I only get in my car to go to necessary places, so I don't need a fancy car, but I say I like the way the aesthetics of this is, I like the way it feels, like I need seat to worry about warming my cheeks up and lumbar and all this, I might have some a little bit more fancier than somebody that only drives to work. But to the outside public looking in, they might say, well, he makes more money because he drives a Maserati. You might say he drives a Maserati, but he works at Burger King. I'm a CEO of a Fortune 500 company, and I drive a Prius. I only drive to work. He drives for attention. Motivations are a lot of it. The appearance of power versus having it.
From people who got money and people who don't got money.
It is not.
Okay.
Bro, this face that he made.
All right, what's the difference of the worlds?
I just think the level of access for right.
That face that he made was stuck.
Damn.
Like, damn.
All right, you back.
Oh, I thought I was just telling you. I was like, he can't hear me. All right.
Good. Now you back.
You've been to a country club before, right?
No.
Okay. So if you go to a country club, it's typically a price to get into most country clubs that the middle class or the least of society cannot afford, right? And when you start understanding being able, first of all, money gives you access to people that you normally would not have access to. The comment that you made earlier is like, what about these celebrities? Celebrities are a small niche of people who give up their soul. So their soul was worth more than any money that they
allegedly.
But for the average person, the most average person won't even have access to investors, different types of people at country clubs. Do you agree with that?
I gotta give just a little bit of pushback on that. If you're not one of those people, who told you this and why did you believe it? That's manipulation. You never seen that with your own two eyes. That's alleged. Yeah. That's manipulation. You've never been there to know. So go ahead.
No, I was gonna say I'm about to get into it with dude, so I'm not gonna add much. I'm listening to you.
All right, so yeah, so I do my thing then. Thanks for letting me know. I haven't watched.
I know.
Because
I know.
I wanted to react. So
yeah,
you cannot. I'm gonna go big on this one. You cannot tell people about a place that you've never been, how it smells, how it sounds, how it feels. If you've never smelled it, you've never heard it, and you don't know how it feels. You cannot do that. That is an error in judgment. And the crazy thing is, people will listen and believe you. Oh, yeah, he got some insight. I ain't never been there either, so I'm gonna listen to his. Do not believe the hype, people. Go places and do things. I have gone places with $0 in my account and left richer than I got there. And it's not just about money. I was enriched. I wasn't cut down. I was enriched. I have gone places where people didn't have any money, and it was paradise. It was paradise. I was in Hawaii, and I was sitting on the beach, and I got a phone call about some work from this guy to my left, and we was talking, and I said, hold on, bro, I'm looking at this real quick. He's like, okay. And I'm like, there's a guy on the beach, and he is obviously homeless. He's just laying there underneath the palm trees. He got his little kit next to him, like all his stuff. He got his food, his cooler. He got a little roll-up mat that he sleeps on. And, it doesn't really get cold in Hawaii, so you can pretty much be outside all day, every day. It don't get too hot, usually. It's just hot enough. And everybody's there. 1,000 people on this beach. Everybody's there. Nobody's bothering this man. Nobody's going and taking his food. Nobody's waking him up from his nap. Got his shirt wide open. His little Hawaiian shirt, got it wide open. Got some little cargo shorts on. Bare feet. His feet were dirty as hell, by the way. Bare feet. And when he woke up, because I was still in the beach, he woke up acted like nothing was wrong with it. Started greeting people, everybody greeting him. That man was in paradise. That man was at peace. Not a dollar to his name, most likely. Not paying nobody to live on what was natural. He lived on the beach. So I asked one of the food workers, because they have along the back end of the roads at the beaches, there's like all these shops set up for people to walk straight off the beach and straight into a shop and spend some money, whether it be new shoes, new clothes, a tank top, new shorts because you're wet, whatever, socks, all of that, right? So I asked one of the guys in the ABC store that was across the street. And the guy was like, oh, yeah, that dude, he's cool as hell. I'm like, he is? He's like, yeah, he lives on the beach, never leaves the beach, walks right up to us, gets his food when he gets his food. You know, he had a little guitar with him. He'll sing some songs. People donate him some money. He gets his food. He goes back to the beach and goes back to sleep. Living in utter peace. Nobody was bothering him. And he'd probably be like that for the rest of his life, to be honest. Don't know where he came from. Don't know what his story was. He was a Caucasian man. So I'm not saying that he wasn't native to the island, but let's call a spade a spade. He probably wasn't native to the islands. You know, living his best life out there. Hey, it is what it is. But here's the thing about this. If you've never been there, you've never seen it, you never tasted it, you never smelled the salt coming off the water, and how you gonna describe that to somebody? And then say you know that this is what it is. If you never performed on stage, can I tell you what to expect and tell you if I've never performed on stage? Yeah, you're gonna feel like this. But I guarantee you that you can recall every feeling that went through your veins while you were on stage performing in front of the crowd, chanting classic. I seen it. So I know you can recall it. So that's my caveat for him. He's already started off in the wrong foot with me. And that's just because he's describing something that he'd never been and don't know anything about except for what other people told him, which means this is second, third, or fourth hand knowledge about people, which all that leads to is speculation.
You gonna have to hear him out. I think he's gonna say he has experienced some of that stuff, if I recall correct.
I'm gonna hear it.
But me and dude don't agree on much this day.
No. Okay. I think it's two different perspectives, and I think your mind's already made up. I kind of know who I'm talking to. So since your mind's already made up, I'm just telling you, I saw the world two different ways. I saw the world when I did not have money and I just had to go to work every day, and that was how I was going to provide for my family, versus being able to pick up a phone call and talk to somebody who's worth over $1 billion.
Okay, yeah,
it's not the same. I wish I could kind of like cape and tell you that, hey, it's the same and the world is the same. Like let me give you an example.
So I just spoke to somebody on Monday, and he got all that kind of money, right? These billions of dollars. I speak to men all the time that have hundreds, $500 million to just, if you need it, they can give it. It's not even, it doesn't even hurt them. Even if you couldn't give it back at a proper time that you said you can, right? It doesn't even really hurt them. They're going to be, of course, conscious of it, but it doesn't hurt them. They ain't going to be needing food or anything like that, right? However, those people, I could get to them without being wealthy, rich, or need a country club. Absolutely. I think it's really all about the niche market that you are in as well. Most of the country club deals that's being made is not really actually done in. It's a very small niche market where these country clubs, where they are making these deals on the golf course. Right?
No, let me give you an example.
Welcome to the show, Classic. Good day to you, Classic. How you doing, sir?
So let me give you an example so you kind of understand what I'm saying, right? Mm-hmm. I was sitting in this on this plane, and there was a wealthy billionaire on it. And you know how they have this thing where they say, "Hey, check this out." Why he was on this plane with me, I have no idea. But he was on this plane for whatever reason, right? And you know how they have the thing on the plane. Once we shut the doors, we're not gonna open the plane no more. Have you ever flown before? Once they say those doors are closed, it don't open. If you fly, you know what I'm talking about. I saw this billionaire knock on the pilot door and told him, "Hey, you need to open that door because such and such is outside and they need to get on this plane." I ain't never seen nothing like that. I have taken I have literally taken, I think, close to 1,000 flights in my life. I have never seen anything like that. I'm just telling you, like, it's not the same world. Like, I don't care if you knew somebody. Like, I'm just telling you that billionaires, and I don't want to just focus on billionaires, but people with money typically live in a different world than the rest of the world, and they have did a real good job at selling people that it's the same world that everybody else live in.
Go ahead, Classic. What's your thoughts on that?
A lot of people mistake money for access. I think you have it exactly right, Sharon.
It's pronounced Sharon, by the way.
Oh, Sharon, my bad. My bad. Apologies. Yeah, Sharon, I think you're exactly right. It's about access more so than money. I know some pretty powerful people, you know what I'm saying? And because of that, I'm afforded access. You know what I mean? Like top of the totem pole type of money. You can be around these people and get into all of it. Like 2K said, he had access to the underground. When he was in the underground, he may have assumed everybody around him was rich because he had to get rich to get to the underground. It would have the people down there had access, not necessarily capital. So yeah, it is more so about who you know than what you know. And I'll be honest with you, being a person who has had access, and just for not for nothing, but have been around. I've been to over 30 countries. So, you know, when you moved around, you've seen the world, not just the nation. It's a little bit different perspective on what you need to have access. Because some of the things some of the capital that you need to acquire in America to have a certain level of access, you can get that same access with $50 in another country. You see what I'm saying? So if you abroad and you got $50, you know what I'm saying? You got the same access to the quote unquote luxuries of the land, and luxuries ain't even real. So it's all perception. Like luxury is not even a real thing. It's a marketed concept. So when you start realizing that, you don't really see it like, oh, this is a new world. It's the same world. Like I can go stay at the Ritz and be in a regular room at the Ritz, and somebody that's a billionaire just staying on a higher floor. We both at the Ritz, and if the Ritz catch on fire, we both got to try to get out of there from the same exits. He don't get a special billionaire exit out of the Ritz because he's, you know what I'm saying? Like it's still the same. It really is. It's not. I get what he's saying though. Like you see stuff that you didn't know existed, but it's normally weirdo stuff. It's not normally anything that you as an integral person would want to be a part of. You start learning about all the weird stuff that
is.
So yeah, the underground ain't nothing. Yeah, the underground.
No Diddy parties.
It's like you know, like the Hennessy bottle at the club is actually different than the one at the liquor store. That's what people be making it seem like, right? Because you pay $300 at the at the club, that liquor is gonna make you more drunk or it tastes better. And reality is not. It's all a game. And people believe the game of I had seats with people. If you're able to spark a conversation, you authentically yourself, the people that you need to speak to is going to find their way into your life. It's just what it is, in my opinion. Either man, like go ahead, either man. Go ahead.
I say if that's what y'all guys. So, I think it's Classic, right? Classic said something interesting. He talked about power. Do power and money run hand in hand?
Not necessarily. You can have power by a couple different means. So yes, money is a way to access power, but so is influence. You could be broke with influence. Think about some of the most powerful, influential people that's ever existed. Were they all rich?
Yes.
No. Wow.
No.
No, they weren't.
So hold on. He wasn't that influential.
What?
That's a fact.
Okay.
No, hold on, that's a fact. No. So like the reason that the president of Russia is one of the richest men in the world is because of his power.
Wow.
Right?
No, false.
Hold on. Listen. Listen. I get because if you have the power, it doesn't make sense for you to leave the money. If you have, just think about what I'm saying. If I have all the power, why would I leave the money?
No, but that's you. So the problem is people putting their own objective of what they would do if they had the power into the whole situation of power and money. It's plenty of powerful people that don't have the money.
Look at our politicians. And this is one of them is wealthy now. Once they got the power.
People that do have power, they try to use their power to go and get money. And then people with money, they try to use their money to go and get power because they are not connected like that. Both parties are trying to use that situation to gain the other thing. Let me also, because they don't have no patience, let me welcome into the show, EMU. Yes.
So guys, it starts to get to be a panel at that point. We're not doing no panels right now. If you guys want to go check out the rest of that.
I ain't gonna lie, Tez. That's where all the meat is.
Oh man.
I'm not telling you how to run your reaction, but that's
I'll let it
where
run
all
for 5 minutes. I gotta get up out of here soon.
I got you.
Yeah, let's let it run for a little bit longer.
I might react to it, so you good.
Yeah. Actually, you probably should. Let me move it up a little bit.
Mm-hmm. Power to y'all is being a shot caller. The shot caller is not the powerful. The person that they call to handle the shot. Go back a little bit. Yeah, yeah. So So we make you powerful.
So
Come on now.
all right. So now and this is when y'all argument starts to fall apart because y'all want to give certain people who you deem as powerful power, but she clearly gained power by getting voted in, and then she used that power to find different knowledge to gain money.
So let me ask you a question. So right now, if you took,
don't ask no question, that's what I'm saying.
Okay, let me address what you're saying. Don't try to go ahead. Ask your question. I'm gonna address it because I'm gonna kill it like I did yesterday.
Ooh,
what's your question?
I gave you a statement. I could give you another example of it as well. AOC, she has power now, and now she accumulating money from the power that she accumulated from people. So again, we could clearly show it's plenty of people that didn't have no power or money. They accumulated, and then now they got power, and then they got money. We also know it's people that is born into money, and they have no power whatsoever. And we can have plenty of examples of that as well.
It can go both ways. Let me give you an example, though. Let me give you a quick example. I'm here in Dallas, Texas. We had a major freeze here 3 years ago, and we just had a major freeze again here now. All right. Northern states don't have these problems because southern states don't usually have freezes, right? So when the freeze happened, they couldn't keep the power on. They had to do rotating power. Guess who never lost power? There's a place here called North Dallas. There's a place here called Frisco. There's a place here called all these different places where the wealthy live. And those places, they never lost power. Me, I make a pretty good amount of money. Got a nice house for my family. We never lost no power. But guess who lost the power? South Dallas, where all the poor people didn't have power for 3 days, 4 days, freezing to death. They found the homeless people frozen to death inside the house. Elderly people dead inside the house because they froze to death. When you have money and you have power, and when you have money and power, you have both of them, you think they're going to take the power from Jerry Jones' house and send it to a poor person's house 30 miles down the road? Absolutely not. The people who had money, who were making a decent amount of money, had power the entire storm. All the poor people who had no money, no power, no.
Whoa. If you smart and you know that you're smart and you care so much about the electricity, you could have done something to do that yourself. You don't need the electric company. That's when you buy. They have all this technology, but people still stupid. You could buy a cell for your house to power your house for a week. You could buy a generator. Generators have been around for decades. You went to the club and wasted your money or threw it on some strippers that was bouncing that thing when you could have spent that same money to fortify yourself so you could live like Jerry Jones. That's not power. That's provision. Learn the difference. Provision and power are not the same thing.
All these little local politicians and board members and all this shit had no power. None. They was freezing, trying to find ways to stay warm.
Go ahead, Classic. He wants to respond.
I want to rebuttal that, and I hope this don't take y'all conversation too far left. I'm just one of them people that don't think like a traditional person. But y'all concept of power, in my personal opinion, is flawed. Respectfully, what is like power to y'all is being a shot caller. The shot caller is not the powerful. The person that they call to handle the shot is the powerful. So, the shot caller is not the powerful. The person they call to handle the shot is the powerful. The only thing that gives people with money power is the fact that most people who are under their thumb are willing to remain compliant. If you are not the one who handles the firearm, I am more powerful than my boss. It's just a matter of me turning the firearm on my boss. It is.
That's wrong, bro.
Let me finish and I got you.
I believe that we proved otherwise in the last segment. Did we not? I think we proved that. We talked about an actual historical fact of a government being toppled by the people with the guns. Not the people telling them where to go. They told the military to do one thing, the military did the other one. Who was really in power? The people with the guns. Just saying. Let you cook.
I'm introducing a concept you haven't heard, so it's your nature to reject it off rip. But hear me out, because you haven't heard this concept. It's just like, I'm gonna give you an example of the movie Four Brothers. You had the dude, what was his name in Four Brothers that was running the show in Detroit, right? The movie Four Brothers with Mark Wahlberg and them. At the end of the movie, they paid his soldiers to turn the firearm on the boss. They had the power the whole time. They were just compliant. As soon as you stop being compliant, the soldier is the powerful, not the person who directs the soldiers. No, there is no such thing as a powerful politician. If the grid go down right now and the world becomes lawless, Donald Trump can't protect himself from nobody. On a man-to-man level, he can't protect himself from anybody. The people who protect them, they can protect themselves. The people who need protection are not protected. That is not true power. You understand what I'm saying? So you power is the people who can force your hand.
So hold on. Before you go eat a man, shout out to the Cash App. You're doing amazing, Sharon. Thank you.
So because we running low on time, I'm gonna finish up here, and then I hope that you cover this later. I will be in your chat. If you got a statement to make, I can let you make it before I get ready to close out.
No, I think I'm gonna react to it. I didn't know if I was gonna react to it because I'm on it. but the conversation goes like super in depth. So I may react to it because it does, like that particular conversation, it deserves probably at least.
If you guys want to get a preview before Classic goes live, that is the Wildest Wake Up Show with Sharon, Sharon Bracey. So if you guys want to get a preview and not just a pure reaction, that is the Wildest Wake Up Show with Sharon Bracey. Shout out to Sharon Bracey for covering both, the video that we did and the conversation with Classic and the rest of the guys that showed up. Either man, I'm pretty sure that I'm gonna watch him get schooled this afternoon. I can't wait because I don't like his takes. But I'll say this as succinct as I possibly can. I will clap back at that. If the people who are quote unquote funneling the power to Jerry Jones during the ice storm that they're having in Texas would say, no, why doesn't he just use his generators and send the power to the people? There's nothing that Jerry Jones can do about it. There is nothing that any of the politicians can do about it because they don't know how to run the grid. The people doing, the doer, and I'm going to say this, the doer has the power. The doer has the power. You can talk all day, but the doer has the power. If you are being manipulated by somebody, it's because you're enabling them to manipulate you. You cannot be manipulated by anybody unless you want to be. Well, she manipulated me, dog. You let her, bro. He manipulated me. You let her, sis. You let him, sis. Nobody can manipulate or influence you unless you allow it. You have the power. It is power to the people because they already got it. If they learn how to wield it, though. If I told you that it was too dangerous for you to protect yourself, so I needed to protect you, and you let me, I now have power over you. I didn't gain power over you until you believed that you needed me to protect you. But if you said, I can protect myself, I can do everything you're doing to protect me, myself. So if you protect you and I protect me, and then we form a union to convince other people of how good of our protection are, now we in control of them because they are convinced that they can't protect themselves and we're the only people that can. This is how political parties are formed. This is how monarchies are formed and destroyed. And this is how your boss tells you what to do and what time you can eat lunch. I don't know about y'all, but I'm not looking forward to the rest of my life if somebody can tell me what time I can put a sandwich in my mouth. That's what I'm fighting for. That's what I'm working for. Ain't nobody going to tell me what to do in my own house. And ain't nobody going to tell me where to put my feet in my house. And for damn sure, it's not going to tell me where to take my hat off and where I lay it. Papa was a Rolling Stone. Wherever he laid his hat was his home. We got a show coming up, y'all. I'm gonna play that video one more time before we get up out of here because I want y'all to come to the show and I want y'all to buy tickets and I want y'all to have a good time that night.
That's a parlay you can take to them. Having that aura, I got that glow. They hate it worse when they know that you know. Walk in the room like I'm covered in gold. I used to suppress it, was about to implode. I used to suppress it, was about to explode. Sore thumb in the room everywhere that I go. Black sheep for the fam, used to think something was wrong. Took a little time to realize I was chose. Took a little time to realize I was special. Ever since birth, been a cold under pressure. Wanna be great, gotta do a little extra. That's why I grind with obsession. Everything about me irregular. Everything about me is pressure. Maximum effort. No box left unchecked on the checklist. No stone left unturned. Mash on the gas and etc. Or farming hoe, I'm up in rank. Step in the room, they paved the way. I get treated like a milli tank. Southpaw like I'm really tank. I do things that they really
screenshot that, y'all. If y'all don't have a ticket, make sure you screenshot that. Also, if you guys want to find everybody else that you guys have seen through here, that is the Raw Society Coalition panel, as well as the Raw Society Coalition themselves. I got a little tab that you guys can go ahead and screenshot. Go ahead and screenshot that, y'all. And Classic, what do you always tell them?
Man, if you don't do nothing else, stick to the codes.
I'm Tez. This is the TezDown. I'm Tez24. Y'all guys are seeing me. I'm having a good day. I hope y'all are too. Remember, y'all have the power. I will see y'all in another 24.
I'm the Tez. I'm the Tez.
Welcome to the TezDown. Welcome.
I'm the Tez.
Mic check 1 2. Welcome. Welcome to the TezDown. Party time.